Hi everyone, welcome to our session today on how to succeed with social media marketing. My name is Fanny, I'm the social media manager here at Clio and your panel host for this afternoon. So social media continues to grow as an important marketing tool for businesses. It's about meeting people where they are, and that's where people are, on social media. So the question you might have in attending today's session is around, how do I master social media as a lawyer or law firm? Lucky for us, we have two panelists here with us to share their insights with us. And before I introduce them, does anyone in the room follow either Adam or Michelle on social media?
You will now.
Yes, I do see some hands, but you're gonna get to know them. So we have Adam Dradovac, who is a California employment law attorney who represents employees and small businesses in the San Francisco Bay Area. And Adam has been creating legal content on Instagram since 2015 and has also built a strong TikTok following. And next to me here, we have Michelle Fonseca Camana, who is the founder and principal attorney at West Coast Lemon, a law firm specializing in California lemon law. So Michelle started her law firm 3 weeks before the pandemic started and successfully used social media to build a six-figure law firm in her first year as a solo practitioner. And we're excited to hear from you both. And so let's start off on what it means to be a lawyer on social media. We know that lawyers are on social media representing their practices and creating informative content. Adam, let's start with you. How did you get started as a lawyer on social media?
Well, I got started on social media just like everyone else did. I'm in my 9th year practicing. I've been a lawyer since 2014, but I think the first social media website that I ever was on was probably Yahoo chat rooms in 2000. Then as things progressed, I was on MySpace and Facebook just along with everybody else. But I'd say in 2015, that's when I really made the shift. I was on Instagram in 2013, and I became a lawyer 1 year afterwards. So after that, I just started learning more about the law and then sharing it with my friends and family. No one liked any of those videos, though. Everyone thought it was weird and that you shouldn't be getting legal advice on the internet at that time.
So we also know that TikTok is one of the newer social media channels that a lot of individuals and brands are exploring. How did you first get started on TikTok?
Well, that's actually a really interesting story. I started in around Thanksgiving 2019, after TikTok has been targeting me with ads all over Instagram. One of my friends at the time said, Adam, I really think that you would like this social media app. So after refusing to download it for about 4 or 5 months, I downloaded it in November 2019. I started creating content, and actually I tried to renegade. Does anyone know what the renegade dance is that went viral on TikTok? Well, there's this one dance that just took over social media for a period of 4 or 5 months. And I actually tried to do that exact same dance one time a day until I hit 1,000 followers. And the 1,000 follower mark was really important because once you hit 1,000, then you're able to go live. I think I went like 4 or 5 days until people started saying, Adam, I don't think this is going to work out for you. So then I pivoted on making legal content at that time.
What about yourself, Michelle? How did you get started representing yourself as a lawyer on social media?
So like you said, I had the brilliant idea of starting a law firm 3 weeks before the pandemic hit. I started out with no connections in the industry, and my game plan was to do it the conventional way, to go out to networking events, give out my business card, let people know what I did. The world shut down, and I had to get creative, and I had to get creative on a budget. So as luck would have it, there was a book I read right before I started my firm called Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. And in this book, he detailed stories about other entrepreneurs and professionals, a lot of them in very conservative industries, just like finance, just like law, that were able to harness the power of social media to build their businesses and their brands. So faced with, that's my only way out, I decided to teach myself social media. And trust me, just like Adam, those early videos are really rough. But you get better with practice. You learn what works, you learn what doesn't, and you become more comfortable, and you get to a point where it becomes second nature, and it can become the best tool in your toolbox in terms of building your business and building your brand.
That's actually a really good point, too, if you're talking about the first few videos that you made. I just told y'all I tried to renegade to 1,000 followers, and after the first 7 or 8 videos, it didn't work out. But I think once the pandemic hit, I made 1,500 videos related to California employment law within the next 5 months. And there were certain days where I would make 25 videos in a day, and the next day I would delete 23 of them. So whenever anyone asks about how they should get into social media, I say make 100 videos before you even critique yourself or even you criticize yourself, because you don't even know what your voice is until you've gone through that process, and no one can help you out with that.
And I think kind of one thing about TikTok as well is that it is about niches. I do feel like, for yourself, Adam, like you mentioned, like employment law, that is obviously what you practice, and like that aligns perfectly with the content that you're obviously sharing. And on a note of being a lawyer on social media, often there is a disclaimer in the profiles of people that are lawyers. Could either of you speak to that?
Yeah, I'm a lawyer in the state of California, and just like every other state, there's a lot of rules on advertising. And one of the things that you're able to talk about, you're able to educate people on is, legal education. If you give people legal education and legal news without actually advertising any of your services, without actually giving a call to action, without actually saying, hey, if you're in this trouble, give me a call, I think at that point you're just advertising, or you're just actually talking about the law. You're creating discussions on the internet, you're educating people without anything in return. And I think that's what people really enjoy. It's when they're able to learn from you without having to think that they're on the hook for anything.
Yeah, even on the disclaimer route, I tended to go with like a cheeky little version. I've got in my notes app where I can just copy and paste every time I post something on Instagram. It says, here's your State Bar of California mandated disclaimer. And it's got the attorney advertising, results may vary, not a guarantee. It just helps cover you. You can never be too careful. You don't want to get into trouble. I'm not saying that you will be, but one click can help protect you. And so I do recommend you take a look at the rules in your state and just throw it in there. You can even make light of it because everyone knows attorney advertising, they know how it is. So they're not going to hold it against you, especially if you are putting out content that is valuable to your audience.
I love the little note that you added about having notes ready to go, and we'll talk a little bit later about effectively creating content, and that is one of the things in being prepared and just like having that ready to go. So whether it's a personal or business account, I think most of us do have multiple accounts and on different platforms. So is there a platform that you prioritize, and how did you make that decision? So let's start with you, Michelle.
So it's going to be based off of your target audience. So all of us are different, whether you're direct to consumer, whether you're a niche practice that really goes after referral sources, whether your potential clients are businesses. You need to go where your clients are. And so for me, I am both direct to consumer and I have a niche practice. So I love a referral from other attorneys, but I also like to reach the car owners themselves. So for me, Instagram has been my happy place because it's a social media platform that a lot of attorneys are on now. It's become more mainstream. So I was able to meet a lot of colleagues directly on Instagram by following their pages, by engaging in their content. They start seeing my name come up and they're like, hey, who's this girl that wears bright outfits and does lemon law? And you start building those relationships. You start supporting each other and building that relationship. And then Facebook has been the other one. My very first referral came from Facebook, and it was from Facebook groups. So I encourage all of you out there to go on Facebook after this and join as many attorney Facebook groups as possible. Go to your alumni, your school. I'm part of USD Alumni Network, Orange County attorneys, LA attorneys. Look at geographical areas, look at your alma maters, join all those groups and start participating in them. Make sure to have a list of people that you refer out to in other practice areas, because when those inquiries come up, you shouting someone else out, your name's also getting out there, and it's currency. Your connections are your most valuable currency, so make sure to utilize that as effectively as possible.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Michelle just said. You want to go where your audience is. For me, one other factor that you should also look at is where do you spend most of your time? I know when I had Instagram, I had a personal account, which I had a couple thousand followers on there, and then switched over to a business account. So I still have my personal account, and that's private, meant for me and my friends who I knew before 2013. But when I'm looking at my Instagram account, my TikTok, my YouTube account, my Facebooks, I create content on those platforms because it's sustainable for me. I used to work in social media and influencer marketing back in 2013 and 2015. So I'm, systematically an oversharer online, and I think that's just the same thing that's relating to what I'm doing now to what I'm doing back then. Because if you look at my content, it's just going to be a lot of different types of content that have to do with different interests that I have. I mean, during 2021, during the whole second half of 2021, I don't think I made one law video. I think I just made a whole bunch of transition videos and a whole bunch of videos where I was just learning how to edit and use different lighting in there. So if you want to be sustainable, make sure that well, number one, your clients or your potential clients are on that platform, but number two, make sure you enjoy creating content on that platform as well.
I also feel like something to touch on there is even the idea of being human. I think no matter what industry you are in and being on social media, I think that obviously there are going to be some brands that are a little bit more curated or individuals, but I do think it comes back to that connection piece, which I think that both of you kind of just touched on. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that has always stood out to me, so I've been in social media marketing for about 8 years now, and I've kind of worked for like a sports organization, retail brands, and now in legal tech. And one thing that always comes back to is around the idea of community. So let's kind of start off with Adam. So how do you build community on your social media platforms?
So that's a question that everyone's trying to solve, right? How you build a community, how you build people who trust you, who think that you're authentic, and who also want to bring their business to you. One way that I do that is through sharing about my personal interests. I know during the pandemic, I was still going to the office every day. I was one of the only attorneys in there before 11 a.m., so I had a bunch of time to myself. So I would create videos at that time, but while you're the only person in the office, I also was on a diet and was eating a bunch of salads. So I ended up making a funny little video about the lunch break salad shake where I would take it, rate it, shake it, and rate it. And throughout the course of the pandemic, I think right now I'm on episode 54 of that, and it's a quick 30-second to 1 minute video with a lot of shortcuts. But I think if you look on that hashtag on TikTok right now, it'll probably have 2.5 million views. And when people are also at work eating lunch in the break room by themselves, they want to have that type of connection. They want to have that type of relationship with someone that they're looking at online. One other thing I did was, when you have your DMs open to everybody, you have a lot of people who are looking for certain types of answers. So I redirected a lot of those DMs onto Facebook. So I actually created a Facebook group called California Law Education. And when you start getting people on that, there's about 1,200 people in that group now. And I know when I share videos there, those people then are my advocates and they share it with the people in their communities who they know need that information too.
I think in addition to the online community, Adam, you also rallied together people for a Stop Asian Hate rally back in 2021. Mm-hmm. Could you speak to kind of how you used social media to leverage a group of like-minded people?
Yeah, so I'm half Korean. I also played college and a couple years of professional football. So I had a lot of people in my community in the San Francisco Bay Area. But during March 2021, there was a lot of violent, senseless attacks against the Asian American community, not only in the San Francisco Bay Area, but in the US as a whole. So I remember there was this one attack that occurred over in San Francisco downtown, and that was on a Wednesday evening. I remember having a phone call with my mom at that time, and she lives in Palo Alto too, so she's in the Bay Area. And she was nervous about going outside. So I remember going on a TikTok live that night, and just talking with my community saying, we need to do something. We need to do something here. So there's about 35 different people in that TikTok live. And all of a sudden we're saying all right, let's host a rally. Let's host a rally in San Jose, California, right in downtown in 72 hours. So on that TikTok live, we had a couple other attorneys in there. We had a couple people in PR. So one person just created the press release. Another person started reaching out to academics. Another person started trying to look for permits, which we weren't able to get in 72 hours. But, that went viral, and it went viral for all the right reasons because, that was on a Wednesday evening, and on Thursday there was another violent attack against an Asian American elder. On Friday there was another violent attack against an Asian American elder in the San Francisco Bay Area, right in San Jose. So I remember when that Sunday popped up, there was around 2,000 to 4,000 people that showed up at City Hall, all like-minded, all the people who were, wanted to stand against any senseless violence against any elder, right? And that was also one of the first times where people were able to go outside during COVID. Now, I got some press for that, which was, it's always nice to get pats on the back, whatever, right? But one thing that I got offended about was how people thought the only reason that occurred was because no one really cared and everyone just wanted to get outside and hop on the trend. So I decided to run it back 1 month later, host another rally, and 1,000 people showed up on that one, and we ended up taking the streets. So that's one way that you can really use social media to find your people, find your niche, and get like-minded individuals to come together for a purpose.
And something that I actually shared with Adam when we met for the first time was that, so I'm based in Vancouver, but I actually saw Adam's videos about that rally and got them in my feed. So that's kind of also speaking to the reach of social media. And also, Michelle, I'd love to hear kind of about how you've built a community. I feel like you mentioned that you have 2 accounts, one in English, one in Spanish. So did you want to speak to how you've built your community?
Sure. So I think especially as attorneys, we are wired to want to live up to this persona of what an attorney is, what an attorney looks like, what an attorney should act like. But thankfully, the pandemic threw a lot of that out the window. People are staying at home, homeschooling their kids, doing Zoom meetings from the living room. It's absolute chaos. Use that chaos to your advantage. Be real, be human. You don't need to be perfectly put together and tailored all the time. If you have something to say, but you might not have the hair and makeup done, say it. It's about your intention. It's about the quality of your content. And it's about who you are. So I think what made things switch for me was when I decided to just start showing what my interests outside of work were. I'm a runner, I guess. So I would start posting, me running, my dog, my husband, and people that were following me would engage with things that resonated with them. Oh, hey, I'm a runner too. Oh, hey, I have a Labrador too. Oh, hey, I'm Colombian as well. I'm Latino. I'm first generation. You have to put yourself out there in order to receive those connections. We get so focused on the media part and we forget about the social part. It's not one way. So the more you put yourself out there, the more you're going to be able to build those authentic connections. And even being here, at this conference, I'm meeting people for the first time, and, it feels like we're old friends because of those connections we've been able to make on social media. And just figure out what communities you want to target. I'm first generation Colombian American, and there's a big need for Spanish language information and legal services, and I wasn't seeing it out there. So I've got my West Coast Lemons account, and I launched the Señora Limón account this summer, and it's all in Spanish. So it's kind of the same idea where I want to educate and entertain and empower my community, but it's in Spanish. It's in the language that my target audience is the most comfortable with. So take a look at what communities are most important to you, where the needs are in your industries and your communities, and try to reach those communities via social media.
And just to piggyback off what Michelle's saying is, I had around like 400,000 followers on TikTok, 450,000 before any of the Stop Asian Hate rallies. And I talked about all the good press that it got. A lot of people said that was the first live event they've ever seen organized on TikTok before. In the next 2 months, I was speaking in rallies in Oakland, San Francisco, all over the Bay. I lost net 40,000 followers. So, they're talking to people always say hey, I'm sure you gained a lot of followers. I lost a net 40K. But what that really did was that cemented the people who were following me, who do know what my values are, who do know what I'm standing for. And that just makes your community that much stronger and that much more, willing to, follow you when you're, going loudly into that dark night, right? So I wouldn't really focus on the quantity of followers you have. It really is the quality, and it's the personal relationships that you do have.
Yeah, I think it definitely comes to mind that quality over quantity always, and then kind of jumping into about content creation. Just even Michelle, you actually mentioned that you have 2 Instagram accounts that you manage. So obviously we know that whether you're a solo practitioner or part of a bigger law firm, attorneys have busy schedules. How do you carve time out or kind of to effectively create content for your social media channels?
So it's a lot of being organized and, to be honest, a lot of smoke and mirrors. So I do not look like this every day. It's quite the opposite. So what I do is, you're scrolling anyway. Like Adam said, where are you normally? For me, it's Instagram. So I'm scrolling anyway. I follow people, leaders in other industries, realtors, even the influencers. You get ideas from other people, and then you take those ideas and you turn them into your own. You put your own spin on them. And so as I'm scrolling, I'll save the audios I like. I'll write down ideas in the Notes app so that when I do have my film days, which is typically only once or twice a month for like maybe 2 hours tops, and I'll film anywhere from 12 to 15 reels, a month's worth of content in one morning. And what I'll do is when I go into those film days, I'll bring out different outfits. So you can do the full suit and change it, but a really quick one is just a white undershirt and bring a couple different colored blazers, throw some different jewelry on there, tuck your hair behind your ear. People think I'm filming every day, every other day, when in reality, it's once or twice a month. And so that's how you can make it sustainable, because you don't want to burn out. It's a long game. Consistency is key in social media so you can stay top of mind. And so being able to do this effectively means doing it smartly.
Absolutely. That's the strategy that everyone uses. You have to batch your content, meaning create multiple videos in the same day, so that way, number one, you have enough time to script out multiple videos, and then number two, then you're going to film 5 or 6 of them in a row. You're doing costume changes and all that good stuff. I know for me personally, I don't script out my videos and I don't batch them because I really just like creating content on social media. And one of the strategies that I use, because I'm more of like an emotional poster, is, I have one topic that I want to talk about, especially on TikTok, because there's really good features now on TikTok and Instagram that allow you to like really blow up your content. You make one video that's educational, informative, and then you look at the comment section, and then those people are going to be asking you different types of questions that relate to your original video. So then you go into that comment, you create a video response to that comment, and then you create, it's easy. Like if someone's in your office, if they ask this question, what are you going to say? Then you tell them that same piece of advice that you would normally say in real life, and all of a sudden that opens up a lot more comments, and then you're able to just keep that going. And when you have a big video, when I say big video, like a big topic that you want to talk about, respond to like 10 to 20 of those comments, and all of a sudden you have a huge branch and a huge stream of content, and all different types of content that hits that same subject in 15 different angles. And that's what really people are interested in, because then they can go to your account and get lost in all the different questions that they had.
Yeah, I think that's both kind of great ways to look at creating video content and getting that insight. So what I do want to highlight is because obviously, even for myself, I'm more of a behind the scenes person, so I'm not necessarily in front of the camera. So I do want to kind of highlight as well as that there are ways to kind of create content, like especially on channels like LinkedIn and Twitter that are more text-based or versus it being video. Even though video is valuable for all the channels, I do want to reassure that if you're not someone that likes being in front of the camera, there are many ways to share your thoughts and kind of like your thought leadership and all of that on other channels as well.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, your different platforms, you can repurpose things. So for me, I create all of my content on Instagram, and then I'll repurpose it according to the audiences that are on different platforms. So certain posts I'll put on Facebook, certain posts I'll repurpose to LinkedIn, other posts to TikTok. And so you can have a presence, and what I recommend is have a presence on as many social media channels as you can, because it's just another credibility check mark, just like having a website is, just like having a Google My Business is. Have a presence, but then go all in on the platform that is giving you the highest returns. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in terms of figuring out what that is. But the other thing I wanted to mention is, a big excuse I hear is, I'm more behind the scenes. I'm not an on-camera kind of person. And so for a lot of us are attorneys. How many of you guys remember your first deposition that you took? And would you describe that deposition as more of a train wreck or a work of art? So it's the same process. You are learning skills that you are going to get better at and better at and better at. Being on video is one of those things. Our early videos are nowhere near what what they are now. And so it's a skill you're going to learn, and it's a skill that translates directly to the practice of law. If you can communicate a thought effectively in 30 seconds as opposed to 1 minute, that's going to make you a better communicator to your clients, to judges, to opposing counsel. So don't be afraid of getting in front of the camera just because right now you don't have that skill set. Go home, film 5 videos. You don't have to show the world. Just take a look at your facts on your website, shoot some videos, 30 seconds, 1 minute or less, and just start practicing. And eventually you'll come up with a take that, oh, all right, that's not so bad. Maybe we'll throw it up there and see what happens. And it'll start snowballing, but you have to start somewhere. Just like you started somewhere as an attorney, you can also start somewhere as a social media content creator.
And I have 2 tips to kind of go along with what Michelle said, because she said repurpose all the content that you have. You want to make sure that if you create one video on Instagram, you're able to take that same video and post it on YouTube, post it on LinkedIn, post it on TikTok. So write this down. There's this, you know how everyone used to post their TikToks onto Instagram, and you used to see everyone's little watermarks in there? And then all the social media apps started getting smart and started depressing all the views on those videos. So there's this website called snaptik.app. It's snaptik.app, where you're able to take the links of your TikTok videos, plug it in there, and then it spits out your video with the audio, with everything, all the text in there, but just minus that watermark. So once you take that video, then you're able to put it on Instagram Reels. You're able to put it on YouTube Shorts. And the algorithm won't know that you're actually just repurposing a piece of content that was made from somewhere else. And also, when you're thinking about takes, you don't have to take a 30-second video all in one shot. I know there's a lot of attorneys who, me included, who would take one 30-second video, and it'd be like 5-second clips, 5-second clips, 5-second clips. So that way, every single thing that you're saying is on point and exactly what you want to say. And as long as you're not like moving and switching out the background too much, the consumer just is excited they're getting the information.
So we've learned about how to choose the best social media channels, how to build a community, how to create compelling content, and obviously, maybe one of the most important ones is that the top question that we kind of see come through our webinars around social media marketing for lawyers is around how to measure leads. Can either of you share kind of how you track your leads?
So here's my shameless plug for Clio Grow. Thank you. So I use Clio Grow to track my leads. So anytime a lead comes in the door, I've got the drop-down list of all the social media channels: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, referral source. That's all in there. So then I track it. And that's how you kind of start on that path, and then you pivot if you need to. So for me, I was realizing, okay, a lot of my leads, both direct to consumer and a lot of referrals, are coming from Instagram. So I'm going to double down on Instagram. So like we talked about earlier, have a presence on a lot of social media channels, but really, a lot of us are solos or small firm owners. You don't have time to go hard on all of them. So focus your energy on the one that's giving you the biggest return. And so that's how I was able to do it, and just, keep that data. It's very easy to do, especially on Clio Grow, but be mindful of where these leads are coming from.
Absolutely, she said it all. Clio Grow is great.
And so to kind of, if you want to learn more about social media marketing for lawyers, we've created the ultimate checklist for you. So you can scan the QR code on the screen here to get some additional resources around social media marketing. And I also have it printed up front here if you're not able to capture that on screen. But I just want to take the time to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon, and also Adam and Michelle for your wonderful insights and sharing kind of your stories of how you've mastered social media as lawyers. And we will be around the stage for a little bit if you have any questions for Adam and Michelle directly, because I know that we are running into our last minute. And if you are looking to find where Adam and Michelle are on social media to become followers of their account, so you can find me at Go Clio, and you can find Adam at Adam J. the Lawyer, and Michelle at West Coast Lemons. So yeah, thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your time at ClioCon and in Nashville.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yay.